Chapter 35. Sword Fight to Freedom. During Robin Hood's absence from the greenwood, a new sheriff had been elected at Nottingham. Robin soon learned the ways of the new man. He was not at all like the former sheriff, against whom Robin had long battled his wits. This new sheriff was a weak man who did little to interfere with anything that was carried out, whether right or wrong. He wanted to live and let live, without causing any disturbance to the peace of Nottingham. On the only occasion that he came face to face with Robin, he ran for his life. It happened in this way. The sheriff's finest swordsman determined to capture Robin Hood. He persuaded the sheriff to go to Sherwood Forest with him. He succeeded in capturing Little John. Ordering him to be bound to a tree, the sheriff told the swordsman to go deeper into the forest in search of Robin Hood, he himself staying behind to keep guard over Little John. The swordsman covered his armour with a horse skin. This gave him the appearance of a poor vagabond. He travelled deep into the forest, but found no sign of Robin Hood. Dismounting, he sat under a tree. Presently 2 of Robin's men came along. They appeared to be carrying a deer between them. The swordsman decided to follow the 2 men. They would surely lead him to their master. Stealthily, using all the cunning and woodcraft that he knew, he followed the men. They gave no sign of having seen him, and he was satisfied that he was unobserved. Actually, the 2 men were fully aware that they were being followed. At first they suspected that the man in the strange horse-hide costume was bent on stealing their deer, so they decided to let him follow them until he came up and tried to wrest the deer from them. Yet nothing happened. He just dogged them steadily through the forest. Suddenly one of the men realized the true purpose of the pursuer. He wanted them to lead him to Robin Hood. He whispered to his companion, the fellow should have his money's worth. It would be an easy matter to make short work of him once they decoyed him to their outlaw's lair. Before long they came to the camp. Robin Hood was sitting on a log under a tree, testing his bow. Swiftly the men warned him that they had been followed all the way through the forest by the stranger. Robin jumped to his feet and blew his horn. From out of the trees dashed men from his newly formed band. The numbers grew, and the swordsman was swiftly surrounded and his escape cut off. A great host of men closed him in. Robin Hood's band of merry men was as strong now as it had ever been. The swordsman looked round in alarm. Then, seeing that he could not escape, he went straight to Robin Hood and flung off his horse-hide covering. Robin recognized him as a soldier of the sheriff. "Welcome," said Robin, bowing mockingly. "Robin Hood," said the swordsman, "I have sworn to the sheriff of Nottingham to take you back with me. Little John is captured and is bound to a tree not 2 miles from here. You are a man of valour, 'tis said, and as such you will not shrink from fair fight." This was a direct challenge to Robin. "There is nothing I would love more," he made answer. "Choose your weapons." The sheriff's man was one of the most brilliant swordsmen in the country. Robin knew this, and he knew that the man would at once choose his favourite weapon, the sword. He did. The combat began. As the two figures fought, the circle of outlaws closed round them. The men cheered their leader on, but Robin needed no encouragement. This was his first fight since his return to the forest. It would prove his mettle once again, or it would end in death at the hand of the sheriff's swordsman. Robin fought with great skill. His thrusts and parries were quicker than those of his foe, but the man was a master of the art, and he fought ruthlessly and fiercely. He knew that his life depended on it. At length, however, he started to tire. He was much older than Robin Hood. The outlaw saw his chance. He pressed his opponent harder than ever. Swiftly he wore him down. The ring of steel upon steel rang out through the forest. Suddenly, with a savage thrust, Robin struck his opponent in an unguarded moment. The swordsman fell with a groan, never to rise again. The cheers that greeted Robin's victory echoed through the forest. Robin ordered the swordsman's clothes to be taken from him, and the corpse buried. This done, Robin dressed in the slain man's attire, and set out to find Little John, first learning from the two men who had carried in the deer the direction in which to go. Presently he came upon Little John, who was still tied to a tree, with the Sheriff of Nottingham standing guard over him. The sheriff looked relieved when he saw Robin, believing him to be his swordsman. "Oh, there, Sheriff," called Robin. "Robin Hood is slain. Allow me to loosen the bonds of this varlet, so we can take him for public hanging in Nottingham." So saying, Robin untied Little John, whispering to the giant as he did so who he was. When he had freed Little John, Robin threw off the swordsman's clothing, revealing his suit of Lincoln green. The sheriff was too terrified to move. He stood aghast, staring at the two outlaws. "Ha ha, Little John," laughed Robin. "What do you think of a sheriff of Nottingham who cannot move himself backwards or forwards?" He strode up to the sheriff and said, "Go, good sheriff, for I have no wish to harm you. Only never venture into the forest alone, lest Robin Hood bite you." The sheriff needed no urging. He turned and ran to where his horse was standing. In the space of seconds he was scuttling away towards Nottingham. Laughing heartily, Robin and Little John linked arms and strode through the greenwood. End of chapter 35.